I think life is meant to be messy. Like, we have to give ourselves so much grace and realize that, again, we are here to just simply be like nature, to shine, to love, to be whatever we decide to do to bless the world. It's icing on the cake.
Hey, my name is Jenna Kutcher, and I am obsessed with all things business, marketing, numbers, and helping you to navigate both the messy and the magical seasons of this thing called life. I'm a small town mama who took a $300 camera, grew a successful photo biz, and now I work from home and run a 7-figure online business. I teach you the tried and true secrets to building a career you adore. Shy away from the real talk? No way. Money, hardship, growth, loss, and marketing are all topics we discuss here. Think of this as your one-stop shop for happy hour with a gal pal mixed with business school. Pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. This is the Goal Digger Podcast. Building a career around your passion? Well, that's the dream for so many of us, right? While it may be the goal and the vision, the secret to actually getting there isn't always shared. What we all need is an actionable plan. Koya Webb is a wellness visionary, author of Let Your Fears Make You Fierce, and founder of Get Loved Up, a conscious community that practices daily self-care and makes healthy living a priority to promote healing, social justice, and spiritual connection. She leads her students from feeling lost, confused, and unfulfilled to find their purpose and pursue it with confidence. I'm so eager to dig into the topics of wellness, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and how they play into the search for purpose and alignment of career and passion. And because this is Goal Digger, Koya will share her actionable steps to get there. It's such a pleasure to share the mic with her. Here she is, Koya Webb. Goal Diggers, I have a podcast recommendation for you. If you like staying in the know when it comes to trends in business, well, you'll love My First Million podcast, hosted by Sam Parr and Sean Pori, brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. My First Million brainstorms new business ideas based on trends and opportunities in the market and shares the stories of how companies made their first million. It's conversational and interesting with insights on topics that we don't always get into on Goal Digger. NFTs with Gary Vaynerchuk, direct-to-consumer strategies, how vending machines are generating millions. Sean and Sam have their ear to the ground for the next big thing in business, and the guests are top notch. Listen to My First Million wherever you go to get your podcasts. Thanks to Miro for supporting Goal Digger. Miro is a collaborative whiteboarding online platform created to help people visualize, discuss, and share work. Just like the whiteboard that hangs in your office, consider Miro a blank slate where you and your team or friends can all work, play, or something in between. Go to Miro.com, that's Miro.com/goaldigger to start your free account. Koya, I am absolutely honored and thrilled to have you on the Goal Digger podcast. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It is just so good. Anytime I'm in your presence, whether it's just your voice, and I cannot wait to meet you in person, it's just, I get excited.
It's amazing. And I'm just so grateful to be able to have the opportunity to watch another woman lead. And I just think you're so inspiring. And one of the things that I want to know as we dive into this show and who is Koya Webb is you are just this visionary. I when I think of you, I feel like the word that comes to mind is just vision. And so will you start off by just telling us, like, does your life and career right now look anything like you pictured it would when you were a young girl?
Not at all. Not at all. And you asked the right questions, because that is a question that I haven't gotten asked before. It did not at all look like I thought it was going to look like. I kid you not, Jenna. When I was growing up, and you can ask my brothers and my sisters and my family, because they're pretty much the only people who know this fact about me, I would say multiple times, I'm going to have 8 kids.
What? Really?
8. Not 4, not 2, not 1.5, 8 kids.
Wow. Okay. I'm like floored right now. Okay. So tell me about your life today. Like, what do you do? What is your work? Where does your pleasure come from? Like, give us kind of a feel for Koya Webb's reality.
Well, the funny part of, that being my thought when I was young is the fact that I love nurturing others. I love nurturing. I love seeing people happy. And one of the women's taking care of me when I was younger, her name was Miss Smith, and she had 12 kids. And I was
Wow.
so impressed by her, the way she loved and nourished not only her own kids, but others' kids. And she was just so loving. And so I think it's actually no surprise that now, like, I feel like I'm a nurturer of the world. You know, I get visions, as you said, like I do consider myself a visionary. I do get, you know, just divine downloads about different things just out of nowhere. And I feel like, you know, even moving from the South, and for those listening in, I have no kids. Don't have 8, don't have 1, no kids. And I was raised in Tennessee and I now live in California. So making that transition from, you know, a Southern girl to a Cali girl, I'm still the Southern girl at heart. But the one thing that didn't change is my love for people and my love for nurturing people, my passion to help in any way that I can. So basically everything that I do, including all the wellness and all the products and all of the classes and the courses I do, is based on my desire to nurture.
That's so beautiful. And it's so important sometimes to kind of see like what your vision was and what it was rooted in. Because sometimes it's like the vision itself might not be the way that it unfolds or the way that it actually appears, but how it was rooted was really where your skills and your passion lies. So I'm curious for you, you know, how did you become an entrepreneur? How did you become this well-known name in so many different spaces? What did that journey look like for you?
Well, again, as a little girl, I had no idea. Like we were very poor. Like I grew up in a trailer and it was 6 of us, my mom, my dad, and I have 3 brothers and sisters. So 6 total. I got all my clothes from the Helping Hand. I grew up on powdered milk and I just considered every day a blessing. Every single day that we had food and we had clothes to wear was a blessing. So I have very humble, you know, beginnings. And I remember, you know, thinking like one day we'll get a house, one day, because it wasn't a double wide either. It was a regular trailer, but I was just happy to have a place to stay. And I remember my dad would say a lot, you know, you have to, you know, there's a lot of value in $1 and I want you to appreciate everything that you have. And I think I learned to appreciate the little things that are beyond physical, like the time spent playing outside. I remember I get so excited to go outside after the rain because then that means I can make mud pies. And at that time, my mom wouldn't let me in the kitchen. I love to smell the pound cakes baking in the oven. And my mom was like, nope, stay out of the kitchen. You're going to burn yourself. So when it rained, I'd go outside and I would make these mud pies and pretend like I was smelling them and eating them and serving them. So I think just growing up, having, you know, not only that desire to nurture, but also just respecting the quality time with people, connecting with nature. Because as a country girl, I was a tomboy as well. So I got out in nature. I was always outside and our house wasn't that big. So it wasn't really fun inside anyway. So I think that passion also for natural healing, my mom and dad were always like, drink some water, you know, oh, just sit in the corner. It'll go away. If anything was hurt, we never went to the doctor because of course we couldn't afford it. So I got a passion for natural healing, and the books that I would gravitate to on the shelves when I was a little girl were the natural healing books. So whether it was a cough, a cold, like whatever, as I started to mature as a woman, like understanding my menstrual cycle and things like that, like I was always fascinated by the human body. I was also always fascinated by its ability to heal. So when I got old enough, I actually started playing sports. And I started playing sports because it was my ticket out of the house. It was crammed in there. It was not fun. And I lived about 15 minutes outside of the city. So I was like, goodness, like, yes, give me a sport. I'll do whatever. I just want to get away from the house. I want to see new things. I always had a desire to travel. So I started track and field, and this is in high school. So until high school, I didn't play any sports, and I started on the track, and it gave me an outlet because growing up, we were a typical Southern Christian family. So I got whippings. I was a very strict household. So there was a lot of me feeling like I couldn't say and do and be really. And it really shut me down at a young age, especially being a Leo, being expressive and fierce. A lot of times I was, given the message, be seen and not heard, know your place, and just, always calm down. That's what I would hear my whole time, calm down. And there really wasn't a space for my level of energy growing up. And so when I decided to do track and field, there was a space, there was an outlet for the energy that I felt inside. And so that was the first place where I learned, my energy. I connected, spiritually, not only like in my church, but also when I would do these events, there was a deeper sense of just connection. I learned how to connect with other people a little bit more because, again, out in the country, you're not around people all the time. So that was kind of my first intro into athletics. And that really pulled me into connecting with people. And I took that on to college scholarship. But my sophomore year in college, I got an injury and I had a stress fracture in my back. And that's when I found yoga for the first time. And I thought my career was over. I was like, wow, this beautiful thing that allowed me to travel the world and see all the things. And that's all I wanted to do as a young girl. I was like, I want to meet people. Like once I got out of the country, I was like, oh, I want to see the world. And every time we go on a family trip, I was like, this is amazing. People, different cultures, different types. It's more than just, in the South, it's just black and white, but I was fascinated by different people, different lifestyles, different cultures. And I wanted to see it and taste it all. I was a big foodie back then, as I still am now. So I was just like, I want to see it all. And so track gave me that opportunity. So when I got injured, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I didn't have a plan B at all. Mm-hmm. So I went into depression and I was crying in classes, and my teacher sent me to the counselor, and the counselor sent me to a yoga class. And I remember not fitting in. I'm like, I can't do this. Here I am, a tight athlete, Jed. I cannot even touch my toes. So I'm like, this is not bliss. How is this going to help me feel better? I feel out of place. It hurts. And I don't know what these people are on, but I'm not on it, right? I don't got it. And so the teacher saw me struggling. She's like, Koya, I want you to just breathe. And she took this deep breath with me. And I remember feeling chills all over my body. I'm like, that felt good. That felt really good. And she said, I don't want you to worry about the poses. I just want you to focus on breathing and do whatever feels good. I was like, I can do that. So literally some days I go in there and breathe and cry and breathe and maybe do one or two poses, but just like be in my own space on my mat. And I had full permission. And that was the most beautiful thing that had happened to me in my life, because I realized there was a lot of things that had happened in my childhood and over my journey as an athlete that I really hadn't processed. And all this was coming up right here on my mat, and I had full permission to feel it all. And so after a year of sobbing and slobbing on my mat, I healed my body, but also my mind and my spirit. And I actually went back to the track, won my conference meet, and led my school, Wichita State, to their first, women's championship in track and field. And I was like, wow, thank you, yoga. Like I have my life back, And so I thought that was my ticket. I actually went to California doing a track trip. And when I felt the weather, the energy, I was like, I'm moving to California when I graduate. So with being 13th in the nation now, my numbers were just below what I needed to get into the Olympic Training Center. So I said, I'm moving to California. I'm going to train the Olympic Training Center. I'm going to the Olympics, and I was that ambitious. I've been that ambitious my whole life. People say, where do you get it from? I'm like, I don't know. It's just in my soul. And then I even had a boyfriend at the time. He's like, what? You're going where? I don't want to go to California. And I was like, sorry, bud, I'm heading out. You're either coming or you're staying. So unfortunately, he didn't come, but that was a heartbreak. And then when I got to California, I didn't know anybody. Like, I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any cousins. I didn't know a soul. I literally called up a track coach on the phone and was like, will you train me? And he said yes. And I started training, but with the pressure of, like, California rent. And, I was working as a personal trainer. I got injured again, and this time, by the way, I'd say thank you, yoga, but I didn't continue it. I was just like, thank you. I'm back on the track. I'm training hard. So when I got injured the second time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to yoga because that's what healed me the first time. So I'm going back. So I go back. And this time I'm like, man, why do I feel so good? And I wanted to learn more about the practice of yoga, the things behind why do I feel good when I'm doing the breath work and these poses? Why do I feel these chills in my body? Why do I feel this bliss state after, Shavasana? And so I decided to do a yoga teacher training. That's when my life really changed. And so now, fast forward to now, I have, one of the top holistic health and yoga schools in the world. We have been online because of the pandemic, but now we are going back in person in 2022. And it really started from me, it being the catalyst for my own personal healing. But I never knew it would help me face all my fears and also write my first book, Let Your Fears Make You Fierce.
Koya, this story is just so beautiful. And I think, too, it's so interesting to trace your journey. I feel like as an achiever, as someone who measures their output and things like that, I know yoga for me was so challenging at first. I hated Shavasana. I was like, let me just leave the room. My brain is going too fast. My workout is done without recognizing the practice. And, it was one of those things where it's like when you really come home to yourself on your mat, it's literally transformative and it changes the way you look at efficiency and working out and that it's not about those things. It's about so much more. I love that story. What event did you do in track, just out of curiosity?
Oh yeah, I did the heptathlon, which is 7 events.
Oh my Lanta. Wow, that's incredible. So walk me through. One of the things that I think is something that a lot of women are exploring these days is identity, right? Like we love to box ourselves up. We love to claim titles. We love to use titles. And I feel like so many women are on the cusp of these identity shifts, but a lot of people are resisting because we finally got quiet enough to ask ourselves some of those bigger, harder questions, but we might not be listening to the answers. And so you've kind of had to shift your identity multiple times based on your childhood visions or what you thought about going to the Olympics or things like that. Walk me through your process of kind of owning who you are and being accepting for change.
Oh, that is a phenomenal question. And I was actually just at a brunch and they were, asking like, who are you? And my answer was, I'm love expanding. I feel like I am a vibration of love. I'm an energetic being. I feel more so that I identify as a spiritual being having a human experience. And during my human experience, it's one side of me is trying to heal from all of the trauma that I've experienced up until now. And heal from what it means to be born in this body, right? In this world, in this culture. And then there's another side of me that wants to fully express authentically and loudly and just shine, And so I feel, to answer your question, I feel like that we all have this opportunity to just be, whatever we're going through. If we're not feeling great, we cannot feel great, and that's okay. And we're feeling like we're on top of the world, we can scream to the top of our lungs, and that's okay. Just giving ourselves permission to experience the duality of life. I think is something that we, especially as women, can give ourselves permission to more. And trying not to so much attach to the labels. And this is me saying this as a very ambitious person who loves doing the things. What really helped me build my career was honestly doing all the things that brought me joy. And I talk about this in my book. I created a love bank, and it's just an arbitrary, you can have a container or a mason jar or whatever, and literally write down all the things that make you happy, that just bring you joy. And some of those things for me, I did massage. When I was in college, me and a boyfriend, we both loved massage. So we got this massage book and we learned how to do great massages. So when I moved into my apartment at a complex that I could not afford, that I am still in 12 years later, which rarely comes out on podcasts, but I remember going into this studio place, and I was like, okay, I can afford this. I'm barely hitting this number, but I can do this. All right. I want to live here just to be by the water and in this environment that I feel is amazing. And the person from the leasing office, he's like, yeah, but for just $300 more, you can get a 1-bedroom with a kitchen and a step down and a walk-in closet. And I was like, nope, I don't want to see it because I'm probably going to want it and I can't afford it. He was like, I don't know, I think you should look at it. And I was like, all right. So I look at it and of course I fall in love with it. It's beautiful, big closet. I love clothes, a big closet, nice kitchen. I love food, so I'm like, it's hitting all my yes emotions. And so I say, all right, I want it. And so I'm like, how am I going to afford this place? I was already stretching it to afford the studio. So I decided, hey, you're good at massage. Buy a table from Costco, start giving people massages. So that's exactly what I did, because it brought me joy to nourish people and make people feel good. So I started massages. And that's when I learned also that massaging is very exhausting. And but after doing it successfully, I actually started cooking in this now bigger kitchen that I had. And then I started my food business called Koya's Cuisine. And I wrote a little self-published book. You can actually find it on Amazon. I mean, it's hilarious. I'm actually working on a new cookbook now with the same title, but it was just a passion project. I was just like, I love food and I'm eating healthier now. I've been vegan for 16 years now. And it's just a path that I chose that, again, after researching and looking at all the things, it just made me feel good. And so I decided, hey, I want to introduce this food to my family, but it's hard. I don't want to go down the whole explanation. I feel like, it's kind of separating and people get a little bit nervous and it shifts the energy when I talk about it. I just want to make it and I want to give people these recipes so they can try it themselves if they're interested. So I wrote that book because that brought me joy. And then I just kept doing things. I actually did some acting and I appeared on some TV shows. I worked with celebrities. I just kept doing whatever the heck I wanted that brought me joy. And now, having a book and having my own yoga school and choosing to be a spiritual leader, choosing to talk about spirituality and love conscious, choosing to talk about well-being and how to live a healthy lifestyle, and also choosing now that I've built a career to help others build on is all still my same passion of wanting to nurture others. I just found the ways that I enjoyed the most and that people enjoyed the most as well. And that's my career.
Oh my gosh. It's incredible that one thing that I love about you, Koya, is you don't shy away from the fact that you are a multi-hyphenate woman, which we all are. You know what I mean? It's like, I think because of the way society is and titles and all of those things, I think it's easy for us to claim a title and have that become our identity. But we are all multi-passionate, multifaceted human beings, and listening to all the avenues you went down that were all rooted in passion, I think it's so inspiring. I want to know, this is such an actionable, like workshop style podcast. Have you identified any steps that are key in terms of like an action plan that allowed you to help to successfully build a life and career that's true to your purpose and that's aligned with your passion? Because I think a lot of times people have a hard time connecting the dots from, well, I like doing this thing, to, well, this could be a part of my life and my career and my impact.
Right. I absolutely do, and I feel like, the first step is just, acknowledging what you like. Sometimes we might like things and we're like, oh, well, I'm never going to be good at that, or I'm not good at as Jenna is at that, and we just take away the joy when we do that. We're comparing ourselves to other people and that just takes away the joy. So if you can, Do what you're passionate about without comparing yourself, without trying to think about the numbers yet. That comes, and there's a space for that. But in the beginning, it's really about figuring out, is this really a passion, or is this something I saw someone else doing that I like? Because I think a lot of people will look at other people. Oh, well, this person did that, and I kind of like that, so I'm going to try to do it to see if I can be successful at it. But there's a vetting process, just like we, vet people that we're dating, just like we vet restaurants that we like. Like, there's a vetting process when it comes to your career. You can't just hop on the train and say you want to roll, you want to ride it to Kalamazoo. You have to kind of vet different things that you're passionate about and make sure it's not just a fling. It's not just infatuation, right? The same things that we can experience in dating, we can experience in our career. So you really have to make sure this is something that you can be doing for 4, 5, 10 years, and it's still going to bring you joy. And it doesn't have to, but you at least need that initial feeling of bliss when you're doing it, or you're not going to be able to get through the trials and tribulations that we all experience on the road to entrepreneurship, because it ain't going to be easy. You get that first couple months of bliss where everything's going, and then when stuff hits the fan, you got to be willing to stick with it. And if you don't have the passion, then it'll be on to the next thing. So I think it's important to have a vetting process. To everyone listening, that if you're not super clear on exactly what you want to do a couple things that bring you joy and see which one rises to the top. And I do that all the time. It's just like, I'm doing the things, even now, I'm doing the things that bring me joy, and the things that I don't like, I get somebody else. I'm like, who likes this? Like, does anyone else want to do this? Because I've lost my desire to do it right now. And we all know in entrepreneurship, the more that you can have other people doing the things in your company that you don't find joy in, the more you're going to grow, the more you're going to expand. Right. And so I think the first number one step is just acknowledge what you like and just start doing it. Immerse yourself in it, study it, read about it, write about it, be about it. And then see if you still have that passion or if you're exhausted after the first 3 months. And then once you find that thing that you really like, oh, this is my thing, then surround yourself in the community of it. Like, have mentors, that are doing it. Be around people that are doing, you want to really immerse yourself in the culture of what it is you're passionate about. And then I feel like I really believe in apprenticeship. I really believe in masterminds. So really not only hanging out, but even working, whether it be, I did shadowing. I remember I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist, so I shadowed a physical therapist, and I was like, oh yeah, they make good money, but they don't have a lot of time with their family. And I really value family. And then I interviewed a social worker. And a social worker, they loved their work, but they weren't making the finances quite that they wanted to make. And then I interviewed a personal trainer, and they were making the money they wanted to make. They loved the service they have. And I was like, so that's literally how I chose to be a personal trainer. So I feel like the vetting process is really important. And then having someone that you can shadow that's done it. They've already done it. So you're taking their advice and they're saving you some of the mistakes that they made. So you don't have to bump your heads as many times as they did. I think that's number 2. And then number 3 is consistency. At the end of the day, after you get into something you like, you're passionate about, you're serving your community, you're feeling good. I think it's just the consistency and showing up every day with breaks, with healthy boundaries, with, balance with the rest of your life. That would be the 3rd thing. And the 4th thing, just getting feedback. How are people responding to how you're serving? And once you have that, I feel like those are the steps that I take with anything I'm challenged. I go through that process for every single thing. And those things that are meant to be, they always rise to the top.
If you've reached a point in your business where a customer relationship management platform is necessary to keep growing to the next level, well, you'll want to work with a CRM that's simple and seamless to implement and use. HubSpot's powerful CRM platform is easy to adopt, which leads to better data, richer insights, and a bigger impact on customer experience. Tools like HubSpot's contact timeline give you the historical context you need to get work done and connect with customers. And because all of your customer data is in one place, it can serve as a single source of information about each customer's history with your brand. Past conversations, messages, all of it. And you can take action right from the contact timeline. Make a call, enroll a contact in a sequence, schedule a meeting, and more. And if you're on the go, you can use the HubSpot mobile app. Super key for our constantly evolving online businesses. Learn more about how you can scale your company without scaling complexity at HubSpot.com. My prediction? Virtual work is here to stay, and that means finding tools to make collaboration through computers even more efficient. Miro is a collaborative whiteboarding online platform created to help people visualize, discuss, and share work. You can write, draw, use videos, sticky notes, diagrams, or audio to conceptualize your vision. Are you finding it difficult to collaborate outside of a traditional office? Are your current tools in your workspace just not cutting it for you? Well, Miro is creating a revolution in how we create and collaborate. So join the over 20 million users today. We have weekly team meetings, and using Miro to list out our top priorities and map out our action items for an upcoming launch really helped us all to get on the same page faster. You can sign up and use Miro today for free. Go to Miro, that's Miro.com/goaldigger to start your free account. Sign up today and take advantage of 3 free whiteboards with this exclusive offer. Head to Miro.com/goaldigger and start using Miro today. There's no reason to delay. You touched on something that I think is so critical, and I think something that you are exceptional at, whether it's an incompetent competence or just this piece of you that you prioritize. But I think, you kind of touched on this idea of balance and, having, time for self-care and making sure that your soul is filled through the work you do. I'm super curious, I think with every topic that is popular or that is mainstream, there are thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on the whole self-care movement? And what do you really think self-care is?
Self-care to me is just honoring yourself. Knowing that unless you make sure you're taken care of mentally, spiritually, and physically, then you'll be doing a disservice to others. Knowing that if you are well, and the more well you are, the more you can serve. Because I feel like we have it the other way around. We think, I'll do all this, I'll do all this, I'll do all that, and then I'll get to my workout, I'll get to my meditation, I'll get to those things that I said I'm going to do for myself. And really, we have to flip that around. And I had to do it myself. Look, I'm not perfect at this at all. I always have to constantly check myself because, I'm a lover at heart and people are needy by nature. I mean, it's like I always want to pour and, people are always going to want to receive. So I had to learn to create healthy boundaries in my life. So even though this feels good and this feels real good and I get high off of service, I also get exhausted, and I also need to fill my cup so I don't become depleted and resentful. So I had to learn, and I did learn the hard way by many days and years, to be honest, of exhaustion, like kept hitting the wall of exhaustion, kept hitting the wall of overwhelm. Until I said, Koya, you are doing a disservice to your community when you let yourself burn out to the point that you don't want to take phone calls and that you can't, you don't have time with your friends and you don't have time, it's a disservice, So I really had to get serious with myself and a little bit disciplined because, as we, start to move into our own career, we don't have our parents telling us, okay, look, you're doing too much. So we really have to have some type of discipline. And in my book, I had a whole chapter on the freedom of discipline. And a lot of times people look at the word discipline as really hard and kind of militant, right? But to me, there's freedom in discipline because the more space you create in your schedule, and I do this in the morning, I have 2 hours, when I wake up, minimum that I devote to my spiritual time. and connecting with God and just, prayer, meditation, yoga. Sometimes I have at least twice a week, I'll have friends over and we'll do yoga together, walking together, time in nature. And that just sets the tone of my day, because I'm there serving and connecting, and it's not part of my job. Even though I do similar things in my work to others, it's literally just connecting in a very authentic way to nature, to spirit, and to people that I love and adore. And then I work from 11 to 5. And then at the end of my day, I'm open for like dinners and, hanging out. And I'm doing that as opposed to literally from the day I work up, hit social media all day, work all day, emails all day until 10 o'clock. And I go to bed with my phone on the side of my face. So it was a big growth step for me.
Talk to me about boundaries, because I can tell for you, I think for a lot of us, we start out as like the yes girls, right? Like you say yes to everything. And I think for a lot of us too, there's this fear of like, is this my big break? Is this my one chance? Am I going to lose momentum? Am I going to lose friendships if I say no? And you touched on boundaries, but walk me through like how you set and maintain boundaries, because I think that's one of the hardest things for women achievers to do.
It's so true. And I have to ask myself the question, does it energize you or does it drain you?
Yeah.
And if it energizes you, okay. And some things can shift and that's okay, but you have to be honest with yourself. Is this thing energizing me or is it draining me? And that's a great way to start setting healthy boundaries, because it's not personal. It's not about a person. It's not about an event, but you got to ask yourself, because it could be maybe the event is too stimulating, or maybe you are just tired and need some rest. Right? So you create a healthy boundary. Like if I'm going to an event, because I used to do events all the time, these wellness events, right? And I go on this wellness event and from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., we got things scheduled back to back to back to back. And let me tell you, and then before I go to sleep, I have to produce the content and edit the content for this wellness event. Let me tell you, I don't feel well. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I got bags under my eyes. I'm like, I am not okay. So when I started setting up my retreats, I would, we'd have a yoga session in the morning. We'd have a yoga session in the evening, maybe one workshop. Other than that, free time. And I give people things to do. You can write, you can go on an adventure, but just spaciousness to breathe, to process, to be, to take a nap if you want to, And so I really started understanding the importance of creating healthy boundaries and giving yourself space to breathe. Number one, it's just space to sleep. Number two, and also space to process, because we are both in the entrepreneur field where we want all the information. You're like thing after thing after thing after thing. And look, like I love it. Like I get on every podcast and I love every self-help book, but what I'm doing now that has helped me, which I wasn't doing this in the beginning, I give myself to process information. So if I go on a weekend, mastermind, then I give myself all next week to process that content, to write about that content. How does this content make me feel? And what things am I going to keep and make a part of my community? And what things are just not me? I think sometimes we're quick to go to a book or go to an event and we want to implement every single thing that we heard. Well, that's literally impossible because you might have different visions than the teacher. So I think giving yourself time to process, to sleep, and to just rest so that you're not like physically taken out are some important things in creating healthy boundaries.
One of the things I saw you recently shared was your morning routine. And I love routines. It's interesting. Sometimes I laugh at them because I'm like, as a mom to a toddler, they're not always attainable, right? Like they're not always a leisurely morning journaling and sipping your lemon water. But I think there is something to be said about setting yourself up and setting your day up. Will you walk me through your morning routine? Because I loved reading about it and I want to hear more.
Absolutely. And I laugh when you say that because I remember for Mother's Day, I treated my sister with being a mom to her two daughters, my two nieces, for 3 days and just giving her a full-on break. I
Yes.
was like, oh yeah, morning routine, not that easy.
Gone. Sleep as long as you possibly can and then roll out of bed and get going.
Yeah, and it was so funny, but what I did, because I feel like, I've always had that mothering heart, is like, I was just like, all right, we're all drinking lemon water. We're all
Yes.
doing green juice. We're all having this smoothie, and it doesn't always work. But I feel like for me, in that whole path of like, lemon water, green juice, and smoothie is a protocol that I got from one of my dear friends, Anthony William, medical medium. And if you don't know about him, wow, I definitely highly suggest people check out his book, Life Changing Foods, because I feel that a lot of people talk about intermittent fasting and a lot of people do it, but a lot of times it's in a way that might not be the most beneficial for their systems. And when he showed me this system of, in a way, it is an intermittent fast because you're basically having liquids for the first part of the day to flush and clean your body out. So when I found that, I was like, wow, I love this because I love green juices. I have smoothies every day already, and I have the lemon water. So I'm just adding this green juice or this celery juice right in the middle. I'm like, I'm digging this. And then when I put my practices with it, I do the meditation and journaling, which helps me process anything from the day before, any frustrations, any hangups, anything that's still lingering after a good night's sleep, where if I'm not in bliss, I'm writing about it, And I do this thing called transformational letter writing where I practice forgiveness every morning. If anything is weighing on my heart, if I'm at any time outside a space of pure love and devotion in the morning, I'm writing about it. I'm putting it on paper. And then I have my water, and then I go into my yoga practice. And in that practice, I'm moving my body. I'm feeling how my body is doing. I'm breathing, I'm connecting. And so it's sacred to me because it's a time for me to check in. Sometimes my knee hurts. I ruptured my ACL when I was playing basketball. And then sometimes my back hurts. Had a stress fracture in my lower back when I, got my track injury. So, as I get older and older, I start feeling like how I feel, and I breathe into those areas and just send my body a little love. So it's very nurturing. And then I have my green juice, which is, really nourishing. And then I go for a walk, and I know seems like, like people might be listening, like, I wish I could, have a morning like that. But honestly, I had to make it a priority because anybody cannot have time for it. And I didn't have time for it until I made time for it. And I will say I'm not perfect. Like it doesn't happen every time. And when I'm taking care of babies, definitely it's way, 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 way more challenging, but it's the intention around it. And it's doing it more times than not and doing as much as possible. And then after I have my smoothie, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for work, and doing that is a way to nourish myself. So even if I only do one of those things, that's the ideal, by the way, that's the ideal that happens like maybe 3 times a week. But maybe the other days I have one of those things or 2 of those things, or maybe a practice gets cut off. I don't do yoga, but I do the writing and I go for a walk. So it's not about being perfect. It's about knowing what makes you feel your best and putting that into a morning routine. So I actually have people structure their own routines based on whether they have 30 minutes or 3 hours.
I was just going to say, I feel like I think so many of us take this like all or nothing approach to everything, right? Like if I can't do an hour-long yoga practice, there's no sense. And it's been interesting too, navigating like pregnancy and being a mom to a toddler and running a business and all these things where I'm like, okay, like 10 minutes is better than 0 minutes. Like how do we prioritize these things? Sipping lemon water while reading a morning story to my daughter is better than not at all. And, I think that one thing that the pandemic and the shift in the world and everything that's happened has taught us is that there are so many areas of gray, and there should be more of it, where we shouldn't process everything as an all or nothing, because a lot of times we're going to choose nothing, right? And so I love that, because I think being flexible in that, but also just recognizing like, hey, it's not going to be perfect and it's not meant to be perfect is a beautiful thing. And I loved learning that about you and just kind of imagining what your mornings look like. I love that so much.
Yeah, I think life is meant to be messy, and
Yeah.
it's like we have to give ourselves so much grace and realize that, again, we are here to just simply be like nature, to shine, to love, to be whatever we decide to do to bless the world. It's icing on the cake. But if we
Yes.
just wake up or if we just stay in the bed, I tell people, yeah, this is my running routine, but sometimes I have waffles. Like this morning, I had a waffle, I had French
That's
toast,
amazing.
my impossible sausage, So it's like, you really have to understand that there are no absolutes. And I'm in a lot of communities that are very, a little bit strict and stringent and absolutist, but my spiritual practice allows me to see beyond a box in
Yeah.
every scenario
Yeah.
and allows me to see that there are no boxes. There's just beingness. And at the end of the day, we're all connected energetically to each other. We're all connected to nature. And in this oneness, I am suffering and I am in pure bliss every single day.
Mm. One thing that I am absolutely thrilled about 2021 is that it brought you on to Growth Day. Can you share a little bit about your experience? I was so excited when you came on, and it was so fun because your first teaching on Growth Day, which is a platform all about personal development, was right after my session. So I got to teach and then I got to learn. And I was just so excited when Brendon Burchard announced that you were joining the platform. Talk to me about that. It's been such a treat.
Wow. I mean, first of all, I want to say, Jenna, you like the sisterhood that you've shown me, like seriously, just through social media. I cannot wait to meet you and hug you in person and thank you eyeball to eyeball. But just a sisterhood of like the little text, like people underestimate how the simple text of like, I'm here for you, or let me know if you need anything, especially to other strong women.
Mm-hmm.
We always think, oh, the person doesn't have time, or they already know, or they don't want to hear it. Like, and just the way that you reached out to me and supported me and like, was like, I'm here for you. And, even being there for my first session and just staying on, like, you got plenty of things to do. You're a fierce mama over there. You got, all these things happening and book writing and stuff you do. And you were there for me. And that just means so much to me. And for me, being a part of Growth Day is being a part of a family of honestly people that inspire me, people that I feel like have a common mission of doing good in the world and bringing good in the world. And of course, in growing and consistent growth and evolution. But what means the most to me is like just the friendships that I've already cultivated online, and just feeling like I have support. I know coming out here by myself and also being single, sometimes it can be very lonely. And I know some people who out there who are single feel very lonely at times, like, man, like who has my back and like, who can I reach out to? Like I'm supporting so many people, but like, man, I feel like, yes, I got God, and that's the biggest support you could ever ask for. But sometimes having a human person that you can lean on. And so being a part of Growth Day, like with Brendon Burchard, he was one of my first teachers when it comes to like online growth, personal and, professional development, and serving with a purpose. So to find someone who is doing it with integrity and with heart and with so much passion was just captivating to me. So I would listen to all of his YouTube videos and really get excited, because I was like, oh yeah, he's speaking to my soul right now. And so, taking his first, classes and getting all his books and all his productivity planners and things like that, it was just amazing. And so after my growth and evolution, having him come say to me, hey, Koya, I would love for you to join my team. I'm like, huh? Who? Me? Who? Me? Like what? And so I was floored, excited, ecstatic. And I'm just like still in a place of awe of this community and the people that I've met already, and just how supportive and nurturing it is. And also the community, our collective community, like, seeing the messages and the people are like, wow, thank you so much, because, I am super productive, but I need to learn to be well. I need to learn to, have a morning routine and to connect spiritually, every single day, and how important that is to my productivity. And so giving them the practical tools that can, help productivity, especially in a space of entrepreneurship, I think is kind of my sweet spot and where I feel like I add value to our collective community. So being part of this family that is the Growth Day team and the Growth Day app, and also being a part of this community that is focused on personal and professional development it fuels my soul so much, because I'm at that point in my life where I feel like I'm living my purpose fully. And there is nothing better than that.
That's so beautiful. It's been just so amazing getting to teach alongside of you and be a student of yours. And that's just been such a gift. What is one thing, as we're winding down the year, as we're starting to think about what's to come, what is something that is just like electrifying your soul, like getting you just so excited? What's something that you're working on?
Oh my goodness. So many things. Okay. I have to pick one thing. To be honest, it is the death and rebirth of me and my company. Sometimes you have to completely let things go and surrender before they can be rebuilt in a brand new way. It's almost, I like to call it sandcastling, and sometimes, you can build something really beautiful and really magnificent, but everything has its season, right? And so right now I'm really excited about this season of everything that I've built up until now, and all of its messiness and all of its passion and all of the beauty that it was. I'm excited about it getting refined. I'm excited about maturing not only myself and going into this next phase of my service, but also seeing that happen throughout my entire company and throughout my entire brand.
Wow. Well, now I'm just like at the edge of my seat. Like, I can't wait to see what comes of this. Koya, where can everybody find you, learn more about you, check out all of your work? Give me all the places we can connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. It's just been a joy to just talk with you, connect with you, and I can't wait to see you in person. And everyone can find me at koyawebb.com, KOYAWEBB. Also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I have videos, breath work, yoga, meditation, all of it's right there. Free content on YouTube and all the social media channels. And also my company, Get Loved Up, which is all about, self-care, oneness, and eco-friendly living. So living the lifestyle with other people who have decided to, be in the community of wellness and around other people who are like, you know what, I'm devoting my life to this. And you can find that at Get Loved Up on Instagram and also getlovedup.com.
Koya, you are such a treat. This episode is such a gift. Thank you so much for coming on the Goal Digger podcast today. It was such an amazing interview.
Thank you so much for having me. Virtual hugs.
I told Koya after we finished the interview that just listening to her, I feel like I take deeper breaths. I feel my shoulders loosen. I feel the desire to hit a downward dog and to just come home to myself through my breathing. And following her is a lot like that. So if you haven't followed her yet, please go do so. She is just a beautiful soul and spirit to follow online. But it's also been such a treat teaching alongside of her on Growth Day. If you want to check out more about Growth Day, there's a 14-day free trial. There's a bunch of different teachers, I think 12 of us, that show up once a month live for live coaching in the personal development space. Koya is on there. I'm on there. It's an amazing platform. You can check it out right now at growthday.com/Jenna. That's growthday.com/Jenna. And you can learn from Koya and myself every single month on a variety of topics that we cover in the personal development space. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Goal Digger podcast. Until next time, keep on digging your biggest goals. I'm over here giving you a virtual high five because you just finished another episode of the Goal Digger podcast. Did that go by way too fast for anyone else? If you want more, head over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for show notes and all the discount codes from today's sponsors. And if you're looking for a new crew of movers and shakers like you to bounce ideas and ask questions, be sure to join my exclusive community for Goal Diggers on Facebook. The link's waiting for you at goaldiggerpodcast.com.